Hello everybody, it's Katrina. This video is going to be a bit different. I have an apology and an explanation. If you've been following me, you know I've been advising meditation and breathwork and yoga and Qi Gung, and I've been holding moon ceremonies and guided meditations and all sorts of things like that on a psycho-spiritual level. I've come to find out that these practices are actually really dangerous, and I now no longer advise that you do them. In fact, I advise that you stay away from them and that you do some research into the spiritual background of these practices and the psychological and spiritual damage that they can do. I know if you know me and if you've been following me, this might sound a bit mad, so please hear me out and watch this whole video, and please, I just beg you to do your own research and to think critically and objectively about what it is that you're doing. As you know, I've been helping people with narcissistic abuse and parenting consciously and setting up my business. I was wanting to and being encouraged to incorporate all of myself into it and to share everything that had helped me in my recovery. I've been really interested in quantum physics and spiritual philosophy and the point where those two things meet. And I've been doing this energy healing, and I was getting into Reiki and light language and quantum healing, transcendental meditations, and using things like pendulums and tarot cards and crystals, essential oils, EFT, all of these things. And when I started sort of embracing my more spiritual side in my business and being more open about that in public, online, I was asking people why it's called New Age, because I was like, these practices are ancient, they're like as old as time, why is everybody calling it New Age? I didn't know where the name had come from, I'd never heard that before, and nobody could answer my question. So a lot of things have led me to uncovering the truth and how all of this stuff ties together. As a light worker, I've been doing my bit to raise the global frequency and to help people and to try and bring about this whole 5D consciousness shift with everybody basically, you know, becoming one with themselves and with the universe, which I thought was ultimate consciousness, Brahman. But in finding out all of this stuff about the Cabal and the exposure of that, bringing about this whole Great Awakening, found out that actually all of these New Age practices and Eastern mysticism and this spiritual philosophy that's being mixed up and put out there that everybody's embracing, you know, being their best selves and all of that, it all comes from the same place. The Theosophical Society was Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey. And Helena Blavatsky founded the Lucifer Trust. It's all tied up with Freemasonry and the Illuminati. What I didn't see was all of the occultist symbology being the same. Because it is all the same. It's all the worship of the light. You can name it love, or the light, or God with a little g, or gods and goddesses. But it's all the same thing. Being a light worker means you're working for Lucifer. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. Lucifer is the light. I'm not coming from a religious perspective. I've never had anything to do with religion. I still don't have anything to do with any sort of organised dogmatic religion. The word originally meant praise and worship, but that's not what we take it to mean anymore. It all traces back to Babylon and Nimrod and Semiramis. Nimrod is named in the Bible. He's a tyrant and a hunter of souls. And his wife, Semiramis, was the mother of Tammuz, who was the first Antichrist, whose birthday everybody celebrates on December the 25th every year. Semiramis was also known as the Great Mother, Mother Goddess, Mother Earth, Mother Nature. Through the ages, paganism was incorporated into the church, which is now Catholicism. The gods and goddesses were renamed through the ages: pagan, Roman, Greek, Egyptian, the gods and goddesses, and then into the venerated mother and saints in the Catholic Church today. Semiramis is also known as Astarte, Aphrodite, Isis, Ishtar, Diana, Ashtoreth, Cybele, Europa, Venus, Anuit or Nut, Kali, the Queen of Heaven. Nimrod went on to be the sun god, and Semiramis went on to be the moon goddess. So that was the beginning of astrology. There are things that are real, whether you believe them or not, and there are groups of people doing things in this world that are unthinkable to most people, and that's the truth. It's not comfortable and it's not pretty, but there's an agenda going on, as with everything else. And this agenda that we've all been caught up in, if you're somebody like me, or if you're still practicing this, or if you've been following me and I've led you into it, and I'm so sorry if that is the case. I can't apologise enough. I didn't know, and now that I do know, I'm saying something. The fact is, when you're channeling these spirit guides and these entities that seem like benevolent beings, they're not. They are disguising themselves in that way. And what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to spirits that don't have your best interests at heart. They might give you information and get you things and lead you in your decisions. But there have been so many cases where if people start saying no to them, then stuff starts going wrong and happening. And unless you keep up this constant routine of yoga and meditation and all of this spiritual works, then it negatively impacts you. And the fact is, these spirits do have the power to give you loads of information and to even heal people. But how temporary is it, and at what cost? And do you really know? All of this information that brought me to Babylon when I traced everything back led me to the Bible. And don't turn off. I wouldn't have believed it. And as I said, it doesn't have anything to do with religion. I came to a lot of this information and stuff wasn't making sense, and obviously knowing about the Satanism and that being hidden within the church, I thought that it was all the same, and all of the religion is the same, but that's not what the Bible teaches. In fact, there are direct inversions of the Bible, not just the Catholics. And when you understand the Jesuits and everything they've done and that they continue to do to take Christianity down from the inside and to destroy it and the people that follow its teachings in any way that they can, and you understand how it's all the same when you look. I'm not trying to change your mind for you. I am warning you and telling you that I found out all of this information, and look yourself, please. Like when I look back at my posts now and I can see all of this occultist symbology, all of this, I can even do it now, this, like there's people doing light language, doing triangles and all of this occultist symbology, rainbows everywhere, unicorns, dragons. It's all Gnosticism, Kabbalistic doctrines, which are not of God. They are of Hasatan, the adversary. And the fact is, if you're not being used by God, you are being used by the adversary. I didn't even think any of this was real. I didn't even know Jesus was a real person. I didn't trust the Bible because it was written by, like, God knows who. And, like, how can you possibly trust them? And, the fact that I'd have to learn Hebrew and Aramaic and Greek in order to read it, to trust it. And thank God we have concordances now, and you can compare all of the different versions online, so you can decipher it yourself. But the fact is, it is a living book, and I never thought I would be saying this stuff. But there is a creator, and the Bible is true, and we're still all falling for the same lie as Eve did in the Garden of Eden. Like, choose good and evil for yourself, and like learn all of this forbidden knowledge of the gods, and you'll be like God yourself. And it's exactly the same thing. And if any of you know as much as I did, if you're following the truther movement, if you're a truther in any way, I hope that you can start to see this, or that you'll at least look for yourself. Because when you see it, the whole thing is all the same. It's all inherently Luciferian. Yoga, all of the Eastern mysticism, Qi Gung, breathwork, EFT, crystals, Reiki, pendulums, tarot cards. I was looking at runes and doing pendulums and talismans and things like that. And the sacred geometry, all the sacred geometry, and talking to angels. Like, then angels are strictly forbidden to just go and talk to people. There are very few angels who are sent on specific missions to go and give a message. They don't interact with you. They're not allowed to talk to you. If they're doing that, then they're a fallen angel. Sorry, I can't find a way of putting this gently. I've been trying to record this video for weeks now, and everything's been, I've been being spiritually oppressed and attacked trying to get this video recorded and online. I've had loads of issues that I've never had before with my technology, and I've just deleted the video that I was going to put up, and like all of my screenshots from the past year, all my photos, all just gone in me trying to get this video out. Something is trying to stop me. And I know this might all sound crazy to you, but that I've come to these realizations through following the breadcrumbs of truth, like we're all doing at the moment, and it's undeniable. It's undeniable. When you look at it, when you look at the similarities, when you look at the globalist agenda, which is actually the ultimate Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. It's globalist agenda isn't New World Order, it's one world religion under New Age spirituality, and all of these practices banded under that whole umbrella, and that includes most, if not all, of the world's main religions, and in this like love and unity guise. It's all Luciferian. I'm sorry. When you're doing yoga, you're opening yourself up to, if you look back into Eastern mysticism, into the spiritual roots of it, and you look at the spirits and the gods and goddesses and the actual stories behind it, it's really dark. And when you're doing the asanas, you're invoking that energy within yourself, and you're like opening yourself as a channel to these spirits, and it's real. It's real. Lucifer isn't on his own. He's got a whole spiritual army down here. If you look at Anton LaVey and Aleister Crowley, you can see the continuation of the commonality between that and all of this occultism, which is New Age spirituality. Do as thou wilt is the whole of the law. Does that sound familiar? Like everybody's entitled to their own truth. The fact is, truth is an absolute. Everyone's entitled to their own beliefs and opinions, but truth doesn't change according to your beliefs and opinions. Truth is what we can see from an objective perspective. And the truth, when you look behind the secret societies, is that it's from darkness into light. The black and the white, the yin and the yang. It's all the same thing. The working your way up the levels to get to the top. It all comes back to Babylon, the occultism coming from the mystery schools. That's the foundation of all of this New Age occultism. And Satan's not like a grotesque, terrifying looking creature. Satan is Lucifer, and Lucifer was a beautiful archangel. That's what he is, the light. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? And the fact is, he's not like, he wasn't cast into hell. He was cast to earth. And it wasn't just him. He took a whole bunch of angels with him, and they all fell. And that's where we get our demons from. They are the demonic entities because they are fallen spirits. And then these fallen angels started having sex with people, and they created Nephilim, which is where we got the giants from. And you know, there are giant skulls and remains that have been found, and that's how we have these huge buildings and enormous stones that have been moved. And I'm sorry, they're not aliens. They're fallen angels. They're Lucifer and his cohorts. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's the truth. And for the more spiritual of you, you'll know that we're more than just this, and it's more than just this level of consciousness. And I think so many of us know that, and that's the problem, is that we go searching for something to explain that and to enable us to be our best selves, because we feel like there's something missing. Except the thing that's missing is our connection to God, our connection to our Creator. It's like we've been lost in the desert for so long, we've forgotten that it's even real. And it is, it's true, it's real, and our Creator made us in His image so that we could live with Him. But we were tricked, and since then the world has been corrupt. And look around and tell me that's not true. The world is corrupt and it's getting worse, it's not getting better, I'm sorry. We're not evolving, we're devolving. And there is only one escape, and our Creator made that way for us. He made Himself human, and He came to this earth to live a sinless life, which none of us could ever do because of the original temptation, and we're just so tempted all the time. It's not about condemning yourself or like being in some sort of guilt trip that like brainwashes you into some sort of religious cult. That's not it at all. I think that's probably what I used to think. I don't even know. But I can assure you it's not that. The Bible is a living book, and when you ask for the truth with all of your heart, with all of your being, if you ask for it, He will show you. But the only way to the Father is through the Son, Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth. And do be careful, because there are lots of false Jesuses, and this whole Christ consciousness thing that is actually Maitreya and Saint-Germain. If you want to look into that, just please do. Please go and look into these things. Because when I realised how bad it was, when I realised actually what these spirits were that I was opening myself up to and channeling and literally like being a vessel for, I was terrified. I was actually terrified. I've been doing all of these practices with my baby, and I didn't have like some bad spiritual experience that's knocked me off my course or anything like that. It was all going really well, and my business was starting to pick up, and was channeling a course and been, you know, working closely with my astrology for the last few years, and and doing all of this meditation and fasting and really following like a mishmash of Hinduism and Buddhism and all of this different spiritual philosophy, and it's all occultism. But that's the point, is like you're just given all of this stuff because it's all the same roots, it's all Luciferian. You can have any of it, choose your own little pick and mix, and that can be your truth. No, everybody can't have their own truth. That would be chaos, which, guess what, is Hassatan's plan. There's just so many things that link it together. I was doing feng shui with crystals that I was charging in moon ceremonies around my house. I'd just been offered a chapter in a book to talk about my healing methods and like how I overcame narcissistic abuse and got myself out the other side of PTSD and everything. And I should probably add at this point that waking up to all of this stuff was very similar to waking up to narcissistic abuse, because all of a sudden I found out that everything I believed up until that point was a lie, and it was actually exactly the opposite of how I thought it was. And it can be very traumatic. So now I would still advise the BAM method, breathe, acknowledge, move, but not like meditative breath work, like just slow, normal breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just like consciously slow your breath rate down. Acknowledge your feelings, get yourself back in the moment and move that frustration or that energy out of your body. And then focus on what you can do and what you can't do, and just focus on the things that you can do out of that section. But now I would also advise you to pray. And make sure you're praying to the right God. Pray to the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, and his son Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth. There have been lots of instances where people have asked their spirit guides what they thought of Jesus of Nazareth. And then they've come under spiritual attack. These seemingly benevolent beings just turned around and started attacking them. And like me trying to get this video out, as soon as I started following Yeshua, I had a really convicting spiritual experience to bring me to this, basically. As I said, I came to this from a truth perspective, not a religious one. And all of this information linked together, what I was doing with occultism, Luciferianism, Gnosticism, whatever you want to call it. The whole fall of the Cabal thing. It's just another spectacle. It's Luciferians against Satanists. Two wings of the same bird. And loads of the people following Lucifer don't even know they're doing it. They're kind-hearted, well-intentioned people who are focusing on the best for everybody to get us out of all this mess that we've been in for the last year. But just like all of these other movements and agendas, they're being taken advantage of. That's the truth. We're in a spiritual war down here. There's a battle for souls going on. And the Lord said to Satan, "From whence comest thou?" Then Satan answered the Lord, "From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down it." You know, Satan isn't in hell. He's walking up and down the earth as a roaring lion, looking for whom he may devour. The Bible isn't... It's certainly not what I thought it was. It's not a redundant old book that a load of religious people who wanted to control people wrote. That's the other side. They wrote Gnosticism and created the Illuminati from it, and the Kabbalah, and then all of the mysticism from that. It's all the same thing. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Bible's a warning. It's the only thing we've got to tell us the truth about this situation that we're in this world. We're down here living in Satan's lie, where he's trying to actively trick us into sin, which just means going against God's laws. And he has to use free will because it's one of God's laws. Even God has to abide by his own laws. And that's, again, the whole manipulation of free will is everything that they use. You know, they can't make you do something, but they will coerce you into doing it as hard as they can. And God's laws are the Ten Commandments. They're our moral code. If there is no God, where did you get your internal moral compass from? Where did you get your conscience from? Why do you feel bad if you know you've done something wrong? And this is why we can't all have our own truth. Because what if my truth is that I like doing something that's actually really heinous, and my truth is that that's fine, and it's normal, and it's acceptable? It doesn't work, does it? That could be my belief or my opinion, but truth is absolute. When all of these things linked together in an objective way, to the point where I then borrowed a Bible and I started reading it. I don't advise opening a Bible at Revelation if you have absolutely no point of reference, by the way. It's kind of crazy. It's the end of the world. But that's where we are. We're living in the end times. I didn't even know what that meant. But I got a Bible and I started looking, and thankfully this lovely woman that I know, who have been in shamanism and in the music industry, you know, up until that point where she couldn't anymore, without joining their funny club. And she was helping me find bits in the Bible to answer my questions about the spiritual practices that I was doing and the biblical warnings against them. And there are so many places in the Bible where we're warned against divination and witchcraft which is what all of this stuff is, you know. And it's just a lie to think that intention has anything to do with it, and that you can use this energy for good or for bad, and that's, you know, we're breaking through the duality concept. Same as yoga, you can't separate something from its spiritual roots. If the root is Lucifer, you can't just use the good bits because you're being used and manipulated in some way or another, whether you know it or not. You can't just be a white witch, I'm sorry. I used to think that you could, but you can't. And I just had this moment where I just knew that what I was reading in the Bible was true. And I just got this moment of real fear about what I had been opening myself up to and letting in and around my child for the last few years. And it's almost like they all lit up in the corners of my house. Like these crystals that I've been doing feng shui with, I just realised all of a sudden that I was absolutely surrounded by them. Like literally in every little nook and corner, all over my house. And I just saw it for what it was all of a sudden. Whether it was that I knew that Jesus was the truth, and so all of a sudden it couldn't hide itself from me, or whether Yeshua showed me. But either way, instantly, I saw it for what it was, and it was like these horrible things in my house. And so I went round and I gathered up all my crystals and my tarot cards and all my affirmation cards and my singing bowls, and I went and chucked my tarot cards on the fire, which was burning properly. You know, the fire was going well. And I sat down next to it and I was just bawling my eyes out, praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob and his son Jesus of Nazareth, and begging them for protection against these things that I had let into my house and into my body and into and around my child. And it felt like I had a stage curtain like on me, just like I was under this heavy thing, praying for forgiveness and protection. And he gave it to me. Like, I felt the whole energy and atmosphere of the room shift, and the weight lifted off me. And I just knew it was an undeniable spiritual experience, and this was the Holy Spirit this time. And nothing else I've ever experienced has been anything like it. It's not like being a channel and letting some other energy fill you up, or letting some other energy move through you. It's like feeling whole from the inside. And I've never ever felt like that before.
I just had the most overwhelming, like, peace inside. Even though I just found out all of this terrifying stuff. But I carried on praying and crying. And the fire next to me went out. I could feel myself being pulled from each side, like I was being pulled between two people. But I knew I was safe. Thank you, Lord. The Bible's not about religion and doing what other people tell you and having to sacrifice all of this stuff that you don't want to. When the Holy Spirit comes and dwells within you, it changes you from the inside. You want different things. You're interested in different things. You want to behave in different ways. You want to follow God's laws. You want to be a good person in the eyes of God, because nothing else matters. Everything else is going to end. And if you don't believe it, you don't have to. But what if it is true? And on Judgment Day, we all meet our Creator. And we all have to give an account for our lives. And as in a court of law, the only thing that matters or not is whether you followed the law or not. And none of us are going to get into heaven based on that. Like, none of us can follow God's laws perfectly and never slip up. We can't. It's impossible. Because of the original sin. Because this world is just steeped in sin, and there are spiritual forces in high places actively trying to deceive us all the time. The only way is to follow the truth, which we're told is a narrow path. And what are we told about hell? The way to hell is paved with good intentions. And kind-hearted people always get taken advantage of. And this is just another case of that. And so this is me speaking up for the truth to all of you who are being misled. I am not judging you. This comes from a place of love, not judgment. I was totally convinced that I was doing the right thing in following all of this stuff until very recently. But what I found is undeniable. And I pray that the Holy Spirit lifts the scales from your eyes and softens your heart and makes you want to know the truth. And Yeshua is the truth. And if you ask him, if you really want to know, ask, and it should be given. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Just like it did me. Praise God. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you made it all the way through to the end. I love you, and take care.